Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Grace of a Military Child in Life podcast. Military families are not like your traditional family. They are strong, brave, resilient, and some of the most incredible people I know. My name is Gracie, a U.S. Army brat, and I am your host. I am honored to be able to give military family members like myself a place for them to share their stories and experiences in the military life. Stay tuned for this week's guest. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Grace of a Military Child in Life. Today, I'm here with Maggie, who is a Navy spouse. So, Maggie, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so excited. I know we've been trying to plan this recording for ever because I've followed you on Instagram for years at this point. And I'm so happy we finally get to talk.
Yes, me too. So start by kind of just telling us what it's like being a Navy spouse or a military spouse in general.
It's so hard, but I almost want to say it's kind of like parenting in the way that it's hard but worth it. It's just been so transformative for me and presented so many unique opportunities that I never would have had. I've grown so much. I was a kid when we got married. I was 19 and moved, and now we've lived literally all over the world, and I've grown so much. And just being a kid, growing up in Iowa, fell in love, that was my life. And I've been a Navy spouse ever since. And that has made it possible for us to have a family and provide for, our family. My husband is the provider, and I find it fulfilling to support him in that. And it's just been amazing to travel. I became a shell of myself at one point because this life is so hard. But now I'm at a stage where I think I'm really blossoming. I wouldn't have had this transformation without Navy life, military life. I wouldn't have experienced this life at all. And it's not what I envisioned for myself, but now I'm really happy with the life I have and the person that I've become. So
I love that because, 19 years old, that's a big point in life. You're trying to figure out how to be an adult. And I think, even to this day, we're all still trying to figure out how to be adults because none of us know. But, we're all trying to.
I literally don't feel like an adult. I know I've grown and I'm this person, but also in a meta sense, I'm oh, yay, we're getting a Barbie dream house for my daughter. I'm going to play with it too because I still want it. Those Barbies are awesome. It's so weird to be I'm the adult now. I'm the one in charge.
Yeah. And then you add military life onto that. And it's, this whirlwind of an experience.
Yeah, it is a lot of pressure. I feel being a mom to military brats or military kiddos, whatever you want to say. It is a lot of pressure because they are not going to have the childhood I had that was just, in one place. But I can provide them with not so much more, but just a different childhood. I've tried to bring them back to Iowa, to our families every summer and really grow roots there. And also, they've also traveled the world. And I think that's really cool. And I am excited to see what kind of people they become with, what we've been able to give them as far as life experiences. But also they go through a lot, and that is the hardest thing to support. They're still going to experience dad deploying. It's an ongoing thing. And to support that is a lot of pressure as a parent. And because I wasn't a military brat, I don't know. I don't know how to do it. I had, it's such a fluid thing. It's hard.
Yeah, because you're trying to learn, how to be a military spouse, how to navigate the military life through that lens, and not having any experience of being a kid and growing up in the lifestyle. You kind of have like really no idea what to experience with it. And then adding kids into it is a whole other aspect, because it's like, okay, well, how do I do this? Like, both my parents came from military families, so they kind of had some idea how to do it. But then, you throw, you don't have the lifestyle, you throw yourself in there, and then you're trying to learn every single aspect of it, and then try to figure out how it is to be a kid in it, so then you can raise your kids.
Yeah.
And it's just so many different aspects that you don't necessarily know what's going on.
And that's what broke me. That's how I became a shell, really, was having a toddler, a 1.5-year-old, living in Italy while my husband was deployed 80% of the time. And looking back, I definitely had like postpartum depression, and I was just in survival mode and just trying to care for this little guy, my son. Now he's 9. And it was just such a survival thing, because being in a foreign country, especially off base like we were, is rough. And I survived it, and I look back on that time in our lives as very transformative, so hard, but I did that, and I know I can, like, I think I can do anything. Like, I just don't see how it could get worse than that. But the military will throw whatever at me now that I say that. But yeah, and my son is such an amazing kid, and it's like really fulfilling to see him grow and succeed, do well in school, even though he's moved so much. He's been to 8 countries and, had to say goodbye to friends. And even living through COVID as a kid, everyone, I don't even know, like, that is just so crazy. Those kids are just going to have an experience like no one else. Like, could you imagine growing up during a pandemic? Because I just, wow, and he is such a, I don't know, he's so responsible, respectful. He's amazing. And so I think I'm doing something right.
Yeah, we talk about military kids, and we talk about, resilience. And there's a good population of the, of the military community who don't like that word, who stray away from it. And I don't, like, I love it so much, like, that I have it tattooed on my back. Like, I have the word resilience with a dandelion.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. I was like, yes, responsible, respectful, but resilience. That's, yeah. No, 100%. Why don't people really like that word? What?
I don't know. And I've never been able to fully understand it, because I'm like, okay, like, I get it. We shouldn't have to force our kids, to be resilient, but that's just something that comes with this. Like, that's something that, we have to adapt to military life as adults, and then, going into the service myself, I'm going to have to, my kids are going to have to adapt to it. And so I don't understand why, because, resilience is going into a situation that is just, you never thought you would be in. It's hard, and you have to face it. And so that's where that resilience comes in. And I'm like, okay, well, what are you going to do if you're not going to be resilient? Like, it's hard.
I mean, like, wouldn't all kids, I mean, don't they face, troubles? Like, wouldn't all kids, I mean, some kids have charmed childhoods, I suppose, but I went through some stuff with my family.
Yeah.
And I think it's just something that is entirely human. It's part of the human experience of growing up. And I wouldn't say necessarily everyone experiences trauma, but there's got to be something, and it just builds character. And then you think about a butterfly effect of how it affects your whole life, and ways you could, when you grow up, help other people and just shape your path. I think it's so important. Yeah.
So you'd think life in general, everyone has gone through a situation where they have to be resilient, no matter what. Yeah. And if it does not happen in your childhood, I can assure you it's going to happen as an adult.
Right.
And that's taking military life out of it. But then you add that in there, and literally our service members go through resiliency training because they have to be. And then, I went through it as a 13-year-old kid. I went through a scaled back version of it. Like, you have to find ways to go through it. And if you're not going to figure it out, then life is just going to be hard. Life is hard to begin with. And if you can't find a way to adapt to a new situation, to find that resilience within yourself as a military, family member, or as just a civilian, like, you have to figure that out, because I can assure you it's not going to get any easier. And the easiest way to get through something is to figure out how to adapt to it and keep going.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not, military life is not meant for the weak. You have to find that strength in you. Like you said, even being in Italy with your husband deployed, having kids, like, going through everything, you have to find that strength in you to just keep going.
Yeah, I never would have thought that would have happened to me. There's no way you can prepare for that. And just the loneliness and just difficulty. And I mean, parenthood, you can't really prepare for what exactly your parenthood journey is going to be like.
Yeah.
And so, you're just in a situation and you move forward. You have to move forward.
Yeah. Because you never know, what this life is going to bring. And even if you have hard orders in hands that say you are moving in 2 weeks, that might change. Like, you could have them holding in your hand, printed out, signed, whatever. You could have everything in line to be moving. Your boxes could be on the truck already. And then, change of plans. You're, staying put, or you're moving somewhere else, or you never know what this life is going to throw. Like you said earlier, like, this life is hard enough, and you can have the worst experience, but the military is going to find a way to make it harder. And it sounds so bad, but it's so true. Like, you never know what you're going to be thrown, what life is going to give you, until, you get there and there's going to be more.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think it happens to everyone, and it's part of the human experience, but it's thrown at military families so hard and so fast, unpredictably, just like everything. It's definitely like, I don't know, like an elite sports of human experience. Like, it's a little bit higher level of craziness than most people. It's intense.
Yeah, it is. And, you don't know what to expect. You don't know what's going to happen until you're in that moment and you're trying to face it. And no matter what it's going to be. And some are going to be harder than others. You don't necessarily know what's going to be hard. You could think, this move's going to be really hard. This is going to suck. And then it's the easiest move of your life. And it's, done, check the box, over and moving on. And then what you think is going to be easy could end up being the hardest thing you ever do.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. We had to one time just eat all of our moving costs because there was literally like an error in the hard copy orders, like a sentence about something. And it was just this most minute thing, but admin, like, they could not refund us for moving from Italy to Virginia Beach. It was so much money. It was, yeah. So
if it was like,
happened.
If it's an CONUS move, then it's not that bad. But then you think, CONUS, oh my gosh, because those, you gotta like either fly your stuff or put it on a ship, and you can't necessarily fly everything, so it's getting put on a ship and sent over.
Yeah, and it takes like 2 months, and then it's like we got to Virginia, and like I was so happy because at the time I was so done with Italy. Like, Italy, no hate, like, beautiful, but I was done. And it was so relieving to be in the States, like the home, like, feeling. It was great. But then it was like, we have just an air mattress and it's going to be 2 months until our bed's here, like,
right.
You have to like get kind of like borrow furniture, get like cheap stuff, or literally just sleep on an air mattress for weeks.
Yeah. Because you think about military life and everyone is like, oh, we want to move overseas. We want to move overseas. And I am definitely one of them. I want to move overseas. I want to live in another country. I think it's so cool how you can not fully move to another country. Like, you're still, U.S. citizen, like that's how it is, but you can move to another country for a little while. You can experience the culture. You can, live like a local. And I think, military life in general, you learn to live like a local wherever you go. But in another country, it's so different, and you get that extended vacation somewhere. But then at the same point, you don't necessarily realize, okay, you've got to go back to normal life. Gotta go back to normal life. You got to, your stuff, it doesn't just magically appear and disappear. And, and then you have to figure out what normal life in another country is. And thankfully, most countries, a good majority speak English too, but there's a good majority that don't. And you have to, go through language barriers and learn a new culture.
Definitely.
All of that.
Southern Italy is where we were. We were in a tiny beach village called Gaeta. That's where the ship was. And there's not even a real base there. And the closest base is an hour away in Naples. So that's the area. And it's very traditional, like old Italy. They don't speak much English at all. Northern Italy, they do. Elsewhere in Europe we went, yes. But where we were, especially because it was a smaller village, not a lot spoke English. Like, our landlord, we had to live off base because there was no base. And our landlord of our apartment was fabulous, but it was definitely hard. Like, we had to use Google Translate, like, just to, talk about anything ever. Right. And so
it's not like you could go start learning another language, like, oh, I'm a military spouse now, like it's time to start learning, German or something, because you think CONUS, you think Germany, and so like, but you don't know. You could go to Italy, you could, England, they really speak English primarily, but you could go to Japan or South Korea or some other country that you might not think about.
Yeah, I tried, and I mean, I definitely know some Italian now, but you can't just instantly get it and be fluent enough and be able to understand what they're saying, because of course, like, it's when a fluent speaker is speaking, it's very fast. It can be difficult to understand. And
then the different dialects. So like, Northern Italy speaks different than Southern Italy.
Yep. Yeah. So the language barrier was another piece of like the isolation for me. It wasn't like there was so few Americans there anyways, and then it's difficult to make Italian friends because we don't speak the same language. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. And then, going overseas, you typically would hopefully live near a base. So then you're by other military families who understand what you're going through, know how hard it is to adapt, and can help kind of coach you through that. But then those moments that you don't have that, you start to realize how isolating it really is.
Yeah, it was very hard for me, and I don't think everyone has this experience, and I don't think anyone should be fearful of having that experience, but I kind of do talk about in my TikToks, my videos about just knowing more of what you're getting into, because I didn't know what I was getting into, and I was not mentally prepared for, arriving and the ombudsman saying, don't bother me unless you want to jump off a cliff.
Yeah.
And I wish that I knew some sort of way that I had a backup plan, a backup person, just more resources. Because when there are personnel, at the time in your situation that aren't amenable to helping, it can suck. And that's just like the luck of the draw. It's a gamble, I guess. Like when you get orders, you never know what you're getting into. So that can happen. But I guess the reason I talk about it is so people can have preparedness mentally and know where to go, for support. Because I don't want, what I did was shut down. I just shut me and my toddler in our apartment and was so scared the whole time. And I don't want people to feel scared.
It goes to the people who always say, oh, you know exactly what you got into when you married your service member or whatever. And you don't know. You really don't know. And I don't know what I'm going to get into when I actually join the Army. I don't know what it's going to be like. And you don't know until you're in that moment and you're going through it, you're experiencing it for yourself.
And you have to have faith in yourself that you're going to figure it out. Because I think people who end up in the military life are in it for a reason, and they will find it within themselves to figure it out, move forward. So I just find that, that faith, that inner faith, and dare to hope that you're gonna get through it, and there's light at the end of the tunnel, no matter what your situation. That's important.
Well, that's a great segue too into my last question, but what advice would you give to another military spouse?
Yeah, I guess that is kind of what I was saying. It's like not giving up within your soul, not giving up on yourself. It very much is a battle with yourself. And if you know and have faith in yourself that everything is going to be okay, you are going to figure it out. Other people have gone through lots of things. This is the military life, and you can do it too. You can do it. And I caution people to not shut down like I did, and to try to just move forward, take it day by day. I think by different branches, there's different, services. We in the Navy have Fleet and Family. There's a lot of help out there if you look for it, and don't give up on that. Don't give up on yourself and your family and your life. Just keep pursuing whatever you need to help you through. And that could be lots of things. Maybe it is resources like counseling, advice. There's a lot of people I find, it's kind of a military spouse blogging, podcasting, vlogging boom. I feel like a lot of people are coming out and sharing their stories and giving advice. And I think that is really cool. And finding a community, even if it's just online, can be really helpful. But don't give up, because you can do it. You can. There's no reason you can't.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much, Maggie, for being on the podcast and sharing a glimpse into your military journey and, what it's like for you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. It's really been a good conversation. Those are just some things that, have been on my mind, and I kind of just, that's my message. And so I really hope that people who need to hear that message find it. I really hope that this helps even one person out there, just with encouragement. So I really appreciate the chance to be talking to you. It was really a nice conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for listening to Grace of a Military Child and Life podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like, follow, and comment. Also, be sure to check out Instagram and Facebook at Grace of a Military Child and Life for more awesome content. For information on the podcast, Military Child Bigs and Littles, Go AMCL blog, or other resources, visit www.goamcl.org. You can also email me at Gracie, that's GRACIE @goamcl.org with any questions or comments. To be a guest on the podcast, you can schedule it at www.goamcl.org/schedule a podcast, all one word, or contact me via social media or email. Stay tuned for the next episode where another incredible story is shared.